How many points are we giving for the dunk?
That's a 10.0.
Okay, there we go.
His name isn't Ben, it's Benedict. I ain't tripping, I'll make it next year. Words of Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards when talking about his snub in the All-Star game. It turns out he only had to wait 7 days to hear Zubin and I talk about it on SportsCenter.
Max, it's going to be a lot more than a week until the Grizzlies starting five looks the same as the one that powered them to the brink of the West Elite. But they're getting closer, and on that tip, we got Minnesota and Memphis tonight, which means we got a matchup of John Morant, who went off again, taking on Anthony Edwards during Friday's shoot-around. You heard what Max said about the All-Star snub. Well, Edwards got a little surprise.
Listen, we talked about it beforehand. It's not often that, at the trade deadline, you get a chance to add an all-star, all right? So, again, welcome, Mike. Welcome to Keel. But we actually were able to add 2 all-stars this year. League called Anthony Edwards.
How about the Chris Finch slow play? Like it was just like, fellas, we're going to go out there, and then he drops that news. That was well played, and obviously Edwards deserved it. Rolling big three. Certainly Minnesota's had a disappointing year any way you slice it. There's Ja. Whew. Played against Chicago, missed the previous game. They got Dylan Brooks back tonight. Still no Steven Adams. He's got the PCL, so that's why we mentioned they're not going to have the starting five ready anytime soon. Edwards, all-star reserved, as you heard, courtesy of Coach Finch. Morant's a starter. There are the numbers for them both. Grizzlies lead at the break. Grizz have actually lost 8 of 10, Max, but are still sitting second in the West. That tells you how good of a season they've had.
Does.
Wow, look out below. Morant throwing it down. Incredible. Reaching new heights. Grizzlies looking to win the Western Conference, get to their first ever NBA Finals. He's loving it. Why not? This was a tight game through 2, and then the Grizz kind of opened it up early third. They have such a good young core. Brandon Clark had 14, 4, and 4 off the bench, and then Morant with the seal. 32, 9, and 9 Memphis wins. More on those 30-point games. Tonight was his 11th 35-5 game. I mentioned he went 32, 9, and 9, so easily exceeding it. That's his 11th game this season with those stat lines. Everyone else on the Grizz combined has won.
And we'll see the Grizzlies at Boston 2 Eastern Sunday on ABC. We'll have to wait at least one more day to see the duo of Luka and Kyrie together, the first of a back-to-back in Sacktown Friday. It's game 2 for Kyrie. Let's see how he does against the Kings. Diming early. Pick and roll with Dwight Powell. Powell gets the bucket and the foul. This one was a blowout in the first quarter. They outscored the Kings by 20, 45-25. You see Kyrie putting it up for JaVale McGee, no relation. Under 5 left in the first. Irving, that's from like 35 feet out. Splashes a 3, 24-17. Mavs extended the lead. Minute 30 left in the first. Justin Hardy down low to Christian Wood, one of the more underrated players in the NBA, getting his hoop and the harm. Up 17, second quarter. Kyrie, no. Powell gets the rebound. Give it right back to Kyrie, and then you reward the big man. 70-49, 2:38 go in the second.
Targeting possibly Luka tomorrow. Max said they'll play the Kings again, so maybe we'll finally see the Luka show alongside Kyrie. Here's the Brunson and Embiid show. We're ready to go. These two teams are very busy at the deadline, so those two are rocking. And new faces in different places for both sides, including their Josh Hart. Jalen Brunson was absolutely terrific. He had 20 in the first quarter. Third Knicks player with 20 in a quarter, the first quarter, over the last quarter century. Carmelo and Julius Randle were the others. Randle filled it up tonight too. Harden, Embiid. Now the Sixers aren't going to take the Knicks lightly. Look out. Anytime Joel hits the floor, you got to be careful. Here come the Sixers again, and I'll tell you why. Harden, watch what happens here. To the cup, easy, and then Tyrese Maxey, who is just everywhere. Maxey had 27 off the bench, always providing a spark for the Sixers, and then Harden dropping it off to Embiid. Remember on Sunday, just a few days ago, the Sixers blew a 21-point lead to the Knicks and lost. So there's no way they're going to be taking this game lightly. They have Sunday fresh in their mind. In the fourth, Harden to Maxey, up ahead for 3 of those 27. Sixers up 103-99. 99. It's not inconceivable this could be a first-round playoff matchup. Embiid with another great game. 35, 11, and 6. And then, Maxey was the star of the show. Might as well seal it. Sixers roll 119-108 and avenge their most embarrassing loss of the season 5 days ago. And this was a very intriguing matchup, not just because it was LaMelo and Tatum. Let us take you through this. No Jalen Brown tonight. There's Jayson warming up with his other running mate, his teammate Deuce. Facial fracture. Brad Stevens says he hopes he won't be out too long for Jalen Brown. Doesn't seem like they're going to have many problems against one of the worst teams in the NBA as Tatum throws it down. Now here comes Derek White. Earlier this week, he had 19 off the bench as the Celtics continue to roll, the NBA's best team record-wise, and he was on a roll tonight. He had 7 3-pointers in the first half, all right? He ended up hitting 8 threes. Tatum did his part. White did his part. Now, here's the thing, as the Celtics were rolling, 16 threes in the first half, almost half of them by White. In the third, here's his 8th three-pointer. Max, you know this dude had it on automatic. He took 14 threes tonight.
Yes, he did.
Tatum and Brown don't take 14 in a game. Steph doesn't take 14 in a game. Ooh. Derek White took 14 threes in this game. He had a career-high 33. Tatum was great, too. And even better news, Jalen Brown back soon. No Smart again, but a win. Celtics, 8th 40-point game this season. Jayson Tatum tied for the 3rd most in Celtics history. This isn't tied for the 3rd most in like Grizzlies history. This is Celtics history. He's in company with only Larry Legend leading the NBA's best team.
You know, Charlotte's just 8-25 on the road, so that was a given. But Phoenix isn't that much better. Worst road record amongst playoff teams. But they do have Devin Booker back in the fold amongst their big three. And we all know who's coming with the big three. That's Kevin Durant. And, you know, Booker, he was getting going early, knocking down the three. It's only his 2nd game back from getting hurt Christmas Day. And a little history in the game as well. 1,050 career threes. That's one shy of tying Steve Nash for most in franchise history. Later in the quarter, Duarte, Benedict, Mathurin. My name is Benedict. 22 off the bench in 32 minutes. Pacers cut the lead to 6. Got to have Chris Paul, the point guard himself, 10.6 assists in the first half. Let's go to the third. Get a little interesting. Paul driving. DeAndre Ayton. 4 straight games of 20 points at tying his longest career streak. And then later in the quarter, Booker passing to Paul. That's high percentage. They got a 16-point lead. Pacers just did not have the answer for this one as Booker hits another mid-range, called them the mid-range mafia, 117-104. So remember the 4-team trade Thursday sending Gary Payton II back to the Warriors with James Wiseman going to Detroit? Yeah, that might not happen. Concerns tied to Payton's abdominal surgery this summer came up during his physical. The Warriors have until Saturday to call off the trade. It was supposed to save the team $1 million in luxury tax. The Bucks have won 9 straight entering Friday. That's tied for their longest streak this season and the longest active streak in the league, taking on the Clippers, who've won 8 of 11, but no Kawhi Leonard. He's load managing the knee. Giannis draining the 3, coming off the game in which he had 38 against the Lakers. Nothing but net there. A few minutes later, Paul George's pass is stolen by Giannis right there. 1 of 5 turnovers for LA, and you know what Giannis is going to do with those long strides, coast to coast and 1, shooting 6 of 15 so far from the floor. Late first, George, mid-range jumper. He's not having the best night shooting so far, only 3 of 11, so he could be way more efficient. But Giannis, just bully ball inside. They have a 1-point lead with minute 14 in the second quarter.
There are 11 games in the NBA tonight. You're not going to see a better finish than this one. Hang tight. Give me a minute. Heat, Rockets. Jimmy Butler to the rack. Jabari Smith called for the goaltend. All right, so that's going to cut it to a 1-point game. Next time Houston has it, Jalen Green turning it over. Heat back out in transition. Where's Tyler Hero? Spotting up, extra pass in the corner. And just like that, Miami's taking the lead. We're not even close to being over here. We got 10.9 to play. Butler, ISO, to the rack, and he's fouled. Made the first. Here comes the second. Cooley hits it. All right, so Rockets need to run the floor. 7 seconds to go. They have no timeouts. For a young team, Max, this is super cool, efficient, and bang! And they tied with 0.7 to go. Here's why I said it's the best NBA finish of the night. Ensuing inbounds pass. Alley-oop to win it! What? Eric Spoelstra said, I drew the play up in the bubble. It's been 3 years since we busted it out. Couldn't have picked a better time. And the Heat on an alley-oop with no time to go. Win it. 97-90. I told you, Big, I wouldn't lie to you.
That was good work by you.
Jazz and Raptors. Oh, Lauri Markkanen, who's been playing great. Pascal Siakam also playing great, especially the last couple games. More on that in a second. You know, the Raptors, wow. Precious Achiuwa. The Raptors are going to rue the day they lost this game because they got contributions from everywhere. It just wasn't enough. Back the other, whoa! Chris Boucher. So back-to-back, Achiuwa throwing it down. Boucher, one better. Wow, but Utah's kind of been the story. Utah's been absolutely miserable when trailing by 13 or more entering the fourth, although I can't imagine too many teams are good when trailing by 13. But and hang on a second. Here comes Siakam. He had 35. That's actually his second straight 30-point game befitting the All-Star nod. Markkanen, who we also mentioned was an All-Star, got it. Lauri Markkanen, what a player. And then the Jazz cutting it down. Markkanen, Olynyk in the wing for three. Jazz cut it to three, so remember they were down 13. Virtually no success when trailing by double digits. Hang on. Colin Sexton will tie it, and they've erased the 13-point deficit. Here comes Markkanen, and as Markkanen completes this three-point play, the Jazz have their first lead since the first quarter. And another guy that's playing well, really well, might be a future All-Star one day, is Walker Kessler. Up and in, Utah blitzes the Raptors' 22-4 run over the final stretches to win the game easy. Now, the NBA has fined Cam Thomas $40,000 for anti-gay comments he made on Thursday. Thomas was following up on newly acquired teammate Spencer Dinwiddie, making a joke about how good the new-look Nets were before he uttered the inappropriate comment. He later did go to social media to apologize. If you're old enough, this one might give you a head shake. The Pistons and the Spurs, two of the worst teams in the NBA. Hands down, not even close. These teams have had so many glory days. Back the other way, closing seconds of regulation, 2-point game. Well, we're tied at 113. Closing seconds now. Bogdanovich. Two bad teams could have had a great ending, but no, so we're heading to overtime. These two teams haven't even combined for 30 wins heading into the night. The Celtics by themselves have 40. That just tells you everything. Devontae Graham, ooh, nice. Spurs, all right, now it looks like we're in business, right? Spurs up 4 in OT. Hang on a second. Pistons are going to cut that deficit in half. It's now a 2-point game. Spurs entering having lost 10 in a row.
Wow.
Bogdanovich. Hang on, he'll draw the foul, makes a couple free throws. He made them both. So now we're going to a second overtime. More basketball between these. Nobody was asking for more basketball between these two. Isaiah Livers. Pistons rally, go on to win. Bogdanovich had 32. The Spurs spiraling losers of 11 in a row.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.